Friends, how you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Mem, Daf 40 from the Masechta Nedarim. Friends, Daf 40, we're moving over here, Masechta Nedarim, 40 Daf. That's more than a month. We're like Nedariming. We are Nedariming, friends. Today we talk about Bikur Cholim. Let's go weiter. So we're going to start in Daf Lamed Testament Beis all the way to the bottom. Reb Chelbo Cholash. Reb Chelbo was feeling modna. My mother asked if I used the word modna. The answer is yes. Reb Chelbo Cholash, Nofak Acher Zuv Kahana. So Zuv Kahana went out and he made the following announcement. Reb Chelbo Boish. Reb Chelbo was not feeling so stark. Loika de Kaasi. Nobody came. Omelu. He said to the people, Lo kachoya maise b'tamadecha b'tamadi b'Rabbi Akiva. Wasn't there episemaise with a certain student of Rabbi Akiva, Shechala, that he got sick? Lo nichnasu chacham levakroi, and none of the rabbis went to visit him. V'nichnas Rabbi Akiva levakroi. Rabbi Akiva went there to visit him. V'shvil shekibdu v'ribtu lefonov choya. And because Rabbi Akiva came, so they swept the floors and did other things over there to clean up. Chaya, that saved the fellow's life. Omrle Rebbe Echi Yisoni, and the fellow says to Rabbi Akiva, he says, Rebbe, you have brought me to life. Yotzer Rabbi Akiva v'darash. Rabbi Akiva went out and expounded Kol mishein mevaker cholim kilu shofech yadomim, that a fellow who does not visit the sick, it's like he's shedding blood. When Avdimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel Omar, he said, Kol mevaker sachole, anybody who visits a sick fellow, gorim lo sheyichye, causes him to live. Somebody who does not visit sick fellows, a sick fellow, gorim lo sheyamos, causes him to die. My grome, how do you call it? By not visiting the fellow, how do you cause him to die? If you're saying, well, because when you visit a sick fellow, so you pray that he should live. So, okay, that's good. And somebody who does not visit a sick fellow, so he prays that the fellow should die. What do you mean? What? Because he doesn't visit the sick fellow, he's been praying that he should die. But rather, a fellow who does not visit the sick, so it's just, out of sight, out of mind. Right? If he's not visiting the sick, so he's not going to be praying for him, not that he should live, not that he should die, just he won't be praying for him at all, and then Memele, he's not going to get better. So Ravi, on the first day that he would be sick, he would tell the people who were around him, Lo tigalu l'inshe v'lisra mazole. Don't tell anybody else, to whoever was close by. So he would say, look, let's just keep it between you and me. Don't tell the people that I'm sick, because I don't want any bad energy. But from day 2 and on, he would say to the people, go out and announce in the market, so that, that way when the people find out that I'm sick, so whoever hates me, so they'll be happy. And the pasuk says, that when your enemy is falling, do not be happy. And therefore, memele, if the people who hate me are happy, then that won't be a good thing. And therefore, what does the rest of the pasuk say? And he's going to undo the anger from that fellow. So Rava says, look, Memele, whoever hates me will be happy, and if they're happy, then my downfall will be undownfalled, and that will be good. And people who love me will pray that I should be healed. So it's a win-win situation. Rav says, anybody who visits the sick is saved from the verdict of hell. Shenema, as the pasuk says, that the fellow who attends to a dal which, as we're going to see in a second, is a sick fellow, then on the day of evil, on the day of hell, the Eibishter will save him. We know that a dal is a sick fellow, as the pasuk says, "Midolo yivatzeni," that from Dola, Maise, in a few days I'm flying out of Dulles Airport. Dulles. Midolo yivatzeni. Inami. Alternatively, minadeinkra, from the following pasuk, Maduata kochodol ben amelech baboker v'gomer. Son of the king, why are you so sickly every morning? And el gehenim, and Ra is hell. As the pasuk says, Shenemar, kol polashim maneu, that everything the Eibishter does is for his sake, v'gam rosha leom ra'o. And oichit nudnik on the day of evil, when he goes to hell. Ben biker mascharu, and if he does visit the sick, what's his reward? Mascharu, what do you mean what's his reward? Kido Omar, nizol medina shel gehenim. He's saved from the verdict of hell. Ella, mascharu b'olam hazeh. Yeah, sure, hell, that's all fine and good for like after you're dead. But what about when you're alive? Oh. Hashem yishmeru v'chayehu, well, the Eibishter will guard him, and he will life him, v'usher ba'aretz, and it will make him happy in the land, v'ateneu b'nefesh oivav, and he won't give him over to the souls of his enemies. Hashem yishmeru mi'etzer ha'aretz, so the Eibishter will guard him from the evil inclination, v'chayehu min ha'yisurin, and will life him up from tribulation, yisurin, afflictions. He will unafflict him. V'usha ba'aretz, will make him happy in the land. Everyone is going to be honored by this fellow. And he will not place him in the souls of his enemies, that rather the Eibishter will give him gewaltige friends, like the friends of Naaman, that they healed him from leprosy. And the Eibishter will not give him friends like Rechavim shechilkos malchuso, that caused his kingdom to be divided. Rechavim was the son of Shlomo Melech, and under his kingship, the kingdom of Israel was divided between Israel and Judah. Tanya. If the youngins, the young whippersnappers, tell you to build, but the elders, who are more cool-headed, tell you don't build, destroy. Listen to the elders, do not listen to the whippersnappers. Because the building of the whippersnappers is actually destruction, and the destruction of the elders is actually binyan, is actually building. And the proof here, the example is Rechavim, the son of Shlomo, that he received advice that he should continue building, but that ended up leading to the kingdom getting divided. In fact, friends, the sun is rising over here. The sun is rising. It's rising. Okay. Rav Shisha Beit Davidi. Lo lisod inish ktsira lo b'tla shoy kad ma'asav lo b'tla shoy b'asrayis. A fellow should not visit a sick fellow, not in the first 3 hours of the day, and not in the last 3 hours of the day, the Yoma, ki eichi to lo leisach da'ati min rachame, so that you should not get distracted from prayer. Tla shoy kad ma'asav ravcha da'ati b'asrayis atakiv chulshe. The reason being that in the first 3 hours of the day, the sick fellow is going to be doing relatively well. And in the last 3 hours of the day, the sick fellow is going to be doing relatively schwer, schwach, not well. And therefore, if a fellow visits the sick in the first 3 hours of the day, he'll look at the sick fellow, and he'll say, "Oh, it doesn't look so schwer, so it doesn't look so schwach," so he won't pray. Or if he visits at the last 3 hours of the day, when he looks particularly schwach, so then the fellow will say, "Oof, it's a lost cause," and oichet, he won't pray. But during the middle of the day, when he's just kind of sick and struggling, so then the fellow will pray stark. Omer Rav, How do we know that the Eibishter sustains a sick fellow? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Hashem yisadenu haler is devay v'gomer. That the Eibishter will sustain a fellow on his sick bed. How do we know that the divine presence is lingering above the bed of a sick fellow? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Hashem yisadenu haler is devay. That the Eibishter will sustain him on his sick bed. So we see that the Eibishter is darting. Tanya Nam Yochi, we learn in the Brisa. Hanichnas levakas achele. Fellow goes to visit a sick fellow. He shouldn't sit on a bed. He shouldn't sit on a stool. He shouldn't sit on a chair. He should put on a talus and he should sit on the floor. Because the divine presence is there in the room above the bed of the sick fellow's bed. And I guess the point is you don't want to be sitting there on a chair in your kuvid when the Eibishter is there as well. Rather, wrap yourself up in a talus and sit on the floor. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Hashem yisadenu haler is devay, that the Eibishter will sustain him on his sick bed. V'amar Ravin, says Ravin Amar Rav, Mitra b'may rovit, side the Rabba pras. When it rains in Eretz Yisrael, the big indication is that the Euphrates, right? That the Euphrates will swell up with water, and you'll know that it's raining in Eretz Yisrael. And this argues with Shmuel. Shmuel says, that Shmuel says that a river swells up from its bedrock, right, internally, not from rain. Over here we're saying that that the Euphrates is swelling from the rain of Eretz Yisrael, but Shmuel says that actually the rivers swell up from the bedrock, not from rainwater. And that Shmuel actually argues on another thing that he himself says, that a river you can't use to purify yourself, because it's going to be mostly rainwater. It's going to be mostly rainwater. Now a river, right, flowing water needs to be meimayon, spring water, not rainwater. And therefore, Shmuel says that only if it's like the Euphrates in the month of Tishrei, right? Tishrei is at the end of the summer, so there isn't any rain. So any water that's there is memele spring water. So you can purify yourself in those waters. But otherwise, you have to be concerned that it's rainwater, and you can't purify yourself in rainwater unless it's like a mikveh, right? There's either mei mikveh or mei mayon. A mayon is a spring, and then there has to be spring water. Now a mikveh, which is like, I imagine what most people, I imagine when they think of kind of a mikveh, so it's just basically a pool of water, and that's rainwater. But if you want to go in like a river, it can't be rainwater, it has to be spring water. And therefore, on the one hand, Shmuel is saying that a river gets its water from its bedrock. At the same time, he's saying that most of the time you can't go to the mikveh in the river because it's rainwater. So is it bedrock water or is it rainwater? So he seems to be arguing on himself. The father, Shmuel's father, would make for his daughters mikvahs in the days of Nisan, right at the end of the winter when there's a lot of rainwater. So he would have indoor mikvahs for his daughters, because the river wasn't kosher for purification. Mafatze biyom Tishrei, but in Tishrei at the end of the summer, when the water there was not rainwater, so then he would make for his daughters mats so that they can either have something to stand on or have some privacy when they go to the mikveh in the Euphrates, because then there's no rainwater there. It'll be mei mayon. Friends, that was daf mem of Masechta Nedarim. We talked about the value of visiting the sick, which was very interesting. Friends, I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.